Welcome to the Superabound podcast, where vision-led entrepreneurs learn to build a generous business without sacrificing what matters most. You are listening to episode 333, Do More of What You Love with the Help of a VA. Hello and welcome back to the show. We have such a good episode for you today. Our guest, Meghan Early, is a administration wizard. I hesitate to even call her a VA because what she does for practitioners and for business owners is truly magical. It is like having another person on your team who cares about your clients just as much as you do. And on this episode, we are going to be talking about all things to do with support, things like SOPs, things like how to get over, lone wolf syndrome if you have that as a business owner. As you know, Steve and I run a very lean business. It is mainly just the two of us, and we have some contract help, we have some support, we have some people who work with us and become part of our team for different reasons in different seasons. What Meghan is going to share with us today might actually surprise you. Really specifically, some of her thoughts on the future of AI in the administrative support world. Really, really interesting to hear what she had to say about how we as humans can use AI. I think it might actually shock you to hear her perspective on it. And I think that if you are someone who has maybe not had a lot of luck working with other people on your team, if you've felt like you can never find the right fit person to support you, or if you just want to know what a really good VA could do for your business, you are going to get so much out of this episode. And if you love Meghan, she also has a free SOP starter kit that you can download at the end of this episode. She'll tell you exactly where to go to get that. I hope you love this, and let's dive in. This is such an incredible topic that we are going to talk about today. This is near and dear to my heart because I actually, before I was an entrepreneur, I don't even know if you know this, Meghan, but I was an assistant. I was an executive assistant for, in the music industry. I used to say that I would manage tours sometimes from my desk, and I worked as the day person for all of these different musicians. Totally got into that work, not knowing a thing about what I was doing, not a naturally organized person, but I know just how important having amazing administrative and sometimes emotional support for a business owner is. So I'm very excited that you are here today to talk about all of the amazing things you're up to and share with our audience. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into this work? I know you are also a business owner, but your business is all about supporting other business owners.
It is, yeah, and I definitely do not have an overly linear path getting here. I went to school for a long time. I have an undergrad in sociology, a diploma in social work, and then I actually did a master's in international peace studies and conflict resolution. And went and worked in the social work sector, doing a lot of job counseling, actually. Loved it, loved the one-on-one work, loved the organization of what a job search can look like and how to support people through that, because I think that can be one of the biggest obstacles with job searching. And just wasn't overly happy with the flexibility that my job had. And a virtual assistant coach came across my Instagram, and I was like, I could do this. And the rest is kind of history. So started my business working with any type of business owner, just doing a little bit of everything, which I think honestly was the best case scenario. I think anybody could start that way. And then my personal naturopath actually hired me a year into me being a virtual assistant. And she was like, I need you. I see you on Instagram. I need you to do what you do. I loved working with her and the structure of her business so much that she would talk about me to all of her peers and coworkers. I loved the structure of her business because she did private practice as well. She runs a health-based program. And that's essentially what I do now is organize inbox and programs and calendars of busy entrepreneurs.
So good.
That's cool. And, the focus of this conversation is on how to be more effective, how to delegate well, how to get things done, the power of having an administrative support person. But you said something that I'm just going to take a little detour on, which was, what is your approach to social media such that you can just be doing it and someone will say, I need you. Tell me about how you do social.
Oh, she's a genius on social media. So
I was doing a little research.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Yeah, that's such a huge compliment. I feel as though it's just showing up as me. And I talk about this with my husband all the time because anytime I go to do something that feels really scary, my mantra literally is I show up on Instagram for a living. Like I can do this, I can do hard things because the initial obstacle is so hard. But once I got over, I can show up as myself and it will attract the right client. And that can take time to make that happen. But it really is just showing up as me and getting clear that if I show up as me, then the right person will want to work with me. And that has kind of worked well for me. So a little bit of my personality, a little bit of my life, and that's how I show up.
Yeah, I also love everything that you do on Instagram.
Thank you.
Just like it's really fun because Steve and I teach this process of relationship-based sales, and the very first thing we talk about is the importance of creating safety and trust with your potential clients and sharing how what you do is aligned. And I think that is something that you do so naturally in the showing up as you. You do kind of, as you said, it's that perfect mix of sharing who you are, showing what you do and how you can support people in a way that isn't just like, hey, I'm an influencer, like this is me making dinner for my kids. It is like, this is why we do it this way. I think I assume that probably all of your background feeds into it. And I know you're probably doing some light therapy with your clients from time
always.
to time.
I mean, that's part of being an entrepreneur, right? Is like we're humans helping humans. That's the base of everything we do.
Yeah, and understanding, especially for the practitioners that you work with, just the level of nervous system dysregulation that can happen when you are working so intimately with humans. All day. And something I love about your messaging, and I do encourage everyone listening to go and check out Meghan's Instagram because it is a masterclass in very authentic relationship-based marketing. Follow her for sure. Even if you're not a naturopath looking for an administrative assistant or a wellness practitioner, it's one of those beautiful mixes of giving value without making it more about you than the client.
Yeah, and that's a hard balance to draw, I find. I don't even know if I could like tell somebody how to do it. I think a lot of it is trial and error and figuring out who it is you're working with and who you want to show up as and how much of yourself you want to show up as. And I should say, I also have a fantastic social media manager. So I do not do all of this myself. And I want to say this because I think it is also a really helpful process for me that she kind of gives me a bit of a filter of somebody else's perspective. Like, I think that's one of the, actually, this is kind of even a plug for what I do too. I feel like it can be the hardest part of being a solo entrepreneur where you're wearing all the hats, is every hat can get really cloudy. And so now that I am busy and have lots of clients, I find that working with Carly has been such a fantastic experience because she does give me this, when I'm talking to her, this is what we're focusing on. And she has this expertise that we bring to the table. And so I think I do that same thing administratively, where practitioners are like, they're doing their own social media and they're booking their schedules and they're doing research and they're doing all these things. And so when they talk to me, it's like, okay, we're just going to talk about the structure of your business. We're just going to talk about your inbox and how the administrative pieces work. And that can be a really helpful thing to bounce ideas off of somebody else.
That was a great segue.
How
do you do social so well
it was not intentional, but it's true. It's so true.
Yeah. So if you were to say the core pieces of how does someone get less busy? How does someone bring a team member in, whether it's a full-time virtual assistant, even using automated tools? Like how do you get out from the overwhelm of
the lone wolf syndrome,
being the lone wolf to asking for help? And
I feel as though I don't have like a neat and tidy answer for this other than to say, and I say this a lot on my content actually, the best time to hire was before you knew you needed to hire. And unfortunately, like most of us can't do that, don't do that. And so the second best time is now. And the analogy I always use is like when you go through your closet, my philosophy whenever I do kind of spring cleaning in my closet is I take everything out of every drawer, everything off the hangers, everything. Because the best way to put it all back is by having to kind of see the mess. And so I say this on every sales call. I say it's going to get better, worse before it gets better a little bit. Like I promise it will get better, but we do need to dive into the messy and the mucky and the things that we actually don't really want to look at, the corners of our closet or the corners of our business we don't want to acknowledge are there. But it's going to get a little worse. And then by going through all those pieces, it's going to get better. And so you kind of just have to take a leap of faith. And lucky for us as entrepreneurs, it's something we've all done. We can do hard things and we can do scary things for the sake of it getting better.
I love that. And I think that honesty again is so helpful because a lot of the messaging out there, especially in your industry, in your space, is like, we're going to just come in and it's all going to be wrapped up tidy by next week. Like there's a lot of empty promises that happen in that world, probably because most people who kind of call themselves a VA maybe are not going as deep as what you are doing with your clients. Yeah. But also I think people are scared to admit the truth that most of us have cobbled together a business and it is held together with duct tape. The back end of most businesses. I mean, I go into some areas of my clients' businesses, not obviously to the depth that you do. And it's really interesting to sometimes see like, wow, you have this whole process that is not documented anywhere that one person owns and you don't know how it works. And if that team member leaves, you're not going to know how to do this.
Yeah. And that's actually that's one of the things that I talk about on my sales call as well, is my goal, A, is that I'm with you forever. Like that is my ultimate goal. But B, if anything happened to me, you're still set up for success. So I want to make it so that you want me to do what I'm magical at, but also I just proved it. I went on 2 mat leaves. I just had 2 babies in 2 years. And somehow through all of that, I was able to pass off to team members because I practice what I preach. And all of my clients had standard operating procedures. It was not easy by any means, but it was easier than not starting from scratch all over again. So it's so necessary.
So I want to know, yeah. How do you pass things off to team members so that you can be gone away and your business will continue to grow? What's that process?
Yeah, that's such a good question. It really is, I think, as detailed as possible standard operating procedures. And it can be SOPs can be like such a buzzword, I feel like in business. And it's not anybody who's listening and it's like, okay, I didn't go to business school. Neither did I. And it's nothing, it literally is just a process. You're just writing down the process of how you do something. And I think like my example here is I even create SOPs in my own business of things that I'm the only one that I do. I am not an accountant, not a bookkeeper, and I do my taxes quarterly. And every time I go to do it, I don't know what I'm doing. And my accountant's like, "Oh, let me clean it up for you." So about a year into my business, I was like, Megan, you need to practice what you preach. So I have all of these very detailed, I literally have myself videotaped like through Zoom on every step I take when I do my taxes quarterly. And now I just follow along the steps and I'm not having to reinvent the wheel. So going back to the question, it really is just as detailed as possible so that anybody with any experience and any skill set can follow along the steps.
Yeah, and I think that, it sounds so easy, and most business owners probably know that that's what they should be doing, but they dread doing it. They don't do it. They avoid doing it. And a way that I will sometimes put this to people is like creating SOPs is a gift to your future self. It's a
Yes.
gift to you next year or next quarter at tax time.
Yes, exactly.
Or you can say,
Exactly.
I already created this. All I have to do is follow the steps. You don't have to waste precious creative brain power figuring it all out again every single time.
Yes. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Like it really can just be recording or just talk out loud. Like turn your Zoom on, turn the record on, and just do what you were going to do anyways, and just talk out loud to yourself. At the very least, even if you take it no further than that, when you go to do that process again, you can watch yourself and you're going to save yourself time for sure.
And you know what I've discovered with that is certain platforms will take the things you've said and give you the transcript, and then you can put the transcript into AI and say, create a document for me, and then you've got your resources there.
Yeah.
Which connects to my next question. You did not enter this on the things you want to talk about, but you did say you'll talk about anything. So I want to talk about
I
it.
did.
Tell me about AI in the world of being an administrative assistant. Like,
Oh my
how do
goodness.
you use it to get more done, to empower your VAs? Are they taking over the world of VAs? What's the deal with AI and admin?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think it feels scary. I think it feels scary to people whose full job it is doing administrative work we have this reputation of we just do tasks no one else wants, or we do tasks that are repetitive, or but that's actually not the reason that people hire VAs or any administrative help. People hire VAs, yes, maybe initially it's because they don't want to do those tasks, but typically a good VA is actually going to do those tasks better than you do them. And so turning that into the conversation of I think it is such an amazing tool in so many ways, and I do want to talk about that. But I think in terms of the fear of like, is it doing our jobs? Not yet, at least. And I do think, especially in the world where I work, which I am basically being hired to be a spokesperson for a very people-oriented field. And so that's my job, and I take it very seriously that I'm a very human end to this communication patient journey. That being said, I think there's lots of ways I use it. Steve, you just gave a really great example. I have had two babies and my brain doesn't always work as streamlined as I wish it did, or it used to for
Oh
sure.
my goodness, same.
And so I can like word vomit things out and it makes it into like this really beautifully written piece. I also, and the other way around, you can take something you give your word vomit, it gives you something else, then it's like this partner it's to work things through with. I also think it's really a conversation for me of efficiency. It just makes me a lot faster at things than I used to. Your example with SOPs, like I used to do that by hand. I'd have people film what them doing and I would write it into a Google Doc, and it took me hours, and so now it's much faster. So I think for right now, at least, I think for admin and AI, it's really just making things more efficient for us. Even when it comes to content writing, which isn't specifically VA, but definitely there are VAs who do social media marketing. I can repurpose content a lot faster than I ever could before. And having kids and being wearing a lot of hats, I used to love writing content. I'd go to a coffee shop and spend my whole Saturday sitting there in the creative bubble. I don't really have that time anymore. So if I can write a few really great posts by myself and then get AI to support me in repurposing those, I think that's just more efficiency in our businesses.
100%. I agree with you. Um, I was curious, I think there's the way in which AI kind of supercharges your business. It supercharges the services that you're able to provide your client. You can do high quality work in less time than ever before.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. And in the back of my mind, what I'm also just hearing is like the argument that I've heard for years from many of my clients and many people like in my circles who are proud, lean team business owners who are really scared of trusting someone to come into their business and learn their voice and speak to their clients. I mean, we have had our fair share of not great fit people that we've worked with. I think about we had a social media manager who I worked with for months trying to teach her our voice and giving lots of feedback. And now I can couple with AI and do some of that on my own. But what I notice is that not having that other human to run those systems, run those processes, to be, the customer facing or client facing voice, the human at the end, as you said,
Yeah.
that can kind of reinforce the lone wolf. And I think it really does limit the potential growth of businesses when we don't have someone else who can step in, who knows our business inside and out. And so the question that kind of always comes up when I offer that to to my own clients is like, but how do I find a great person? Like I've hired people I liked, I've hired people who think like me, I've thought this was such an energetic, excited person, and then they turned out to not get it and not be aligned. So I'm just curious if maybe you could give us some tips from your perspective on how to find a great fit person for your team, for your VA or admin support.
Yeah, I don't think there's a simple answer to that. But what comes to mind for me is you said, I've hired people who think like me. And I think my argument would actually be not even specifically people who don't think like you, because I think people grasping the way that your brain is flowing and your ideas are, I think that is important. But I'd almost argue, especially if you're going to make one big hire to be your right-hand person, is that you want someone who likes the things you don't like. So if you like A, B, and C, and those are the tasks that you love doing in your business. So my example of this working with health practitioners is the health practitioners, every single one of them, the commonality is that they love healing. They love the journey of the health, of watching and supporting their patients go from pain points and health issues to through that health journey. Most of them didn't become NDs or osteopaths because they want to live in their inbox or schedule and reschedule or fax prescriptions or all these other things. Those are the things that I love doing. I love creating systems around them. I love creating organization. My favorite thing in life is having a new client that has an out of control inbox and watching the inbox go from like 20,000 unsorted, unfiltered emails to zero. And it is not only satisfying to me personally, but to watch people go, I didn't know inboxes could look like this. And so it's just to say that would always be where I start. I would start, especially as I said, if you're going to hire a right-hand person, you really want, and you're going to be like a dynamic duo to start, at least that's where you're starting your team. I think it's really helpful when you have somebody else who, yeah, maybe thinks differently than you, but more importantly, really likes the things that you don't actually want to do.
Yeah, and I guess just to kind of bring the conversation around to an ending point here, the one of our approaches to encouraging people with their teams and kind of team building is think about the roles that you want to have in place, like what will make your business succeed, and then find the people that are the best fit for those roles, rather than work with your best buddy or
work with someone because they're cool.
Work with your brother because family. It's going to be a lot more effective if you are focused on the energies that you need and the really what your business needs, right? Because then you're focusing on the overall impact that you want to have. And you can sprinkle in, the things that you need personally for that experience to be enjoyable and the kinds of person you want to be with. But being really clear on what jobs need to be done and what energy needs to be brought to those jobs is going to make for a much more pleasant business than just working with whoever's convenient.
Yes, absolutely. And when we're talking specifically about VAs, it's hard because we are a very, very saturated market. And not all VAs are equal. Not all VAs are paid equally. Not all VAs charge equally. Like it's just a very saturated market, which is not a bad thing. But it really does mean that you going into searching for one, you do have to be clear on what you're looking for, because you can throw a stone and find somebody that's a VA.
Right. Yeah. It's the wild, wild west in some ways. But if someone needs a VA who is not only organized but can be a social worker and and resolve conflict, bring more peace. Can you tell us a little bit about how someone could connect with you to see if that might be a fit? Yeah.
I'm currently showing up most on Instagram. So it's Meghan Early is my handle, Meghan with an H, so Meghan, and then Early, like early in the morning, is my Instagram handle. I do show up there most and love having conversations in the DMs if anyone wants to connect with me, and email always. So info@meghanearly.com.
Amazing. And you have something that we talked a little bit about SOPs, but we talked about something earlier that may help people kind of get started on the journey of creating SOPs for themselves and their business.
Yes. So I do have a freebie linked in my Instagram. I call it the SOP Hub, and it goes through really a lot of what we talked about here, but in a structured way. So the purpose of SOPs, how to do them, a few of my tips and tricks, and that's up on my Instagram links for anybody.
I'm going to go download that.
Yeah.
I want to see how you do it. I'm going to give it to Steve to be in charge.
Love it.
But really, I mean, I think even people just starting out, whether you're hoping to build a lean team, having support from a human is something that every business is going to need at some point. We love a lifestyle business, but at some point, if you want to be able to have vacations and not worry about your clients, not worry about your customers, not worry about things falling through the cracks, you're going to need another human brain, at least for now.
Yeah.
Maybe in 20 years, it'll be a robot. Who knows? But and we'll just all get to go outside and garden. But
yes.
Yeah,
I know. Totally. I love being that person for people. I love being I go from being so independent, borderline lonely. I don't really have anyone to bounce ideas off of. My partner is so sick of listening to all of my business ideas, to I can be that person. And I think the real beauty is that not only can I be that person from a brainstorming idea, but I'm also the implementer. So if you are that person that's like, I have a million ideas and I never know how to either rein myself in, or actually it takes me a million years to implement the tech and implement the systems that I want to create, that's also the beauty of a VA, is we are all pretty well versed in funnels and workflows and all of those pieces that can take somebody who doesn't do that day to day a lot of time and energy.
Awesome. So I hope everyone who's tuning in got some mind expanders, some different ways of thinking about things and what's possible and how to bring other people into their teams. Yeah, thank you so much for your time and for the insights that you shared, Meghan.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank
for
you.
having me.
It's this is another act of self-investment, even though we're talking about something that's very specific to business, having someone like you on any business team is a beautiful thing. And for visionary founders, I think it's totally essential.
Yeah, it's one of my, I know we're wrapping up. It's one of the questions I ask on every sales call is if we talk about the pain points and what you'd want off your plate, but then I always go, if somebody took all of that off your plate, what would you do with that time and energy? Because
Ooh.
it's not necessarily, oh, I want more clients. Sometimes it's like, I want to be able to pick my kid up from the bus stop, or I want to be able to not be on my phone all Saturday and Sunday. Like, where do you want your time and energy to go? And that really is what a VA can do for you, is open up your time and energy, because it doesn't need to be you doing it all.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.